And I tweeted, Sidney Powell from the outset represented we the people, focusing on election integrity and the re-election of Donald Trump. Nothing has changed. As Lynn Wood said, quote, all interests are aligned, end quote. There you go. And then Sidney sent me your statement that I believe she also ended up sending to the Wall Street Journal. But let me read it to you, because the bought-off lamestream fake media, I actually, and Newsmax is not in this group, by the way, in the bought-off lamestream fake media. Newsmax read a portion of her statement. I didn't hear it from other people. Of course not. Here's what Sidney wrote as her statement, and I put it out on Twitter, and I sent an announcement to our subscribers. So they were ahead of the curve. Here's what Sidney wrote. I agree with the campaign statement that I am not a part of the campaign's legal team. I never signed a retainer agreement or sent the president or the campaign a bill for my expenses or fees. My intent has always been to expose... Now, this is a really important sentence. Listen. My intent has always been to expose all the fraud I could find and let the chips fall where they may, whether it be upon Republicans or Democrats. It's a really important statement right there. Okay? Republicans or Democrats. The evidence I'm compiling is overwhelming, and I believe it is, that this software tool was used to shift millions of votes from President Trump and other Republican candidates to Biden and other Democrat candidates. We are proceeding to prepare our lawsuit and plan to file it this week. It will be epic. We will not allow this great republic to be stolen by communists from without and within, or our votes altered or manipulated by foreign actors in Hong Kong, Iran, Venezuela, or Serbia, for example. None of these people who are involved in this, have neither regard for human life nor the people who are the engine of this exceptional country. We, the people, elected Donald Trump and other Republican candidates to restore the vision of America as a place of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You may assist this efforts by making a non-tax deductible contribution to defendingtherepublic.org. And then she put a hashtag, Kraken on steroids. Sidney Powell. See, folks, that statement is very illustrative. It's a two-front war. Rudy Giuliani and his team are working one front, much like MacArthur in the Pacific. And you have Sidney Powell working another front, that being the electronic front, much like Patton and Omar Bradley worked the European theater in World War II. Both fronts need to be addressed if we're going to win the war. And they're both working on behalf of we the people. Period. And anyone that tries to tell you different and try to muddle this water, they're working for the deep state. They're shills for the deep state. Anyone that was, Sidney Powell, there was a break. Those people are people, one, you don't trust. And number two, they've identified themselves as players for the deep state. They're trying to divide and conquer. And what our team's doing is dividing and taking on two separate fronts. Period. It's that simple. But remember now, let's look at this politically. What Sidney's front is all about is exposure of corruption. And as she pointed out in her statement, Democrats and Republicans. President Trump, the numbers are there for him to win. I've seen them. They're there for him to win the election. The legal votes. No doubt. None. But once he does win, and all this criminality is exposed, he has to govern. And I believe that there are going to be some rocks overturned that shed some light on some players, or many players on the D side, on the globalist side, if you will. But they're also globalists on the R side. You see, for President Trump to govern for the next 4 years, he needs to have as many allies as he can. So, this two-front war is going to be won. Rudy will win it on the Pacific theater, if you will, and Sidney will win it in the European theater. But there will be casualties. And not just who you think is the enemy, but people that you thought were playing on the freedom side were in fact infiltrators. And that's what this is all about. Molly McCann is a brilliant attorney. She's an associate of Sidney's. She wrote a fantastic article entitled Democrats Do Drama, We Need to Stay Resolved, Disciplined, and Driven. I am going to put the link in the topped pinned tweet, pinned comment on this video. Okay, I don't put in the description section because when you start putting articles in the description section, one, people don't see them, and two, it gives YouTube license to take us down. I know how ridiculous that sounds, but it's true. So I'm going to put it in the pinned comment area. I want to read, it's a very short article. This is the article that General Flynn retweeted out. Democrats do drama, we need to stay resolved, disciplined, and driven. Molly McCann. Brilliant, by the way. Think about this election as having two tracks. Track one, Pacific Theater, if you will, is the regular fraud. It is comprised of all the illegal conduct the Democrats engaged in, from excluding poll watchers to ballot materializing from unknown locations, to precinct not checking signatures as required by statute, to Democrats incentivizing voters with gas cards, and the sordid list goes on and on. Track two, European Theater, is the electronic fraud. It is the Dominion foreign intervention scheme that Sidney and some others are working to present proof of in court. Taken together, 2020 could be the most explosive election in U.S. history if it isn't already. Drama isn't a good thing when real work needs to be done. Drama is particularly problematic when work needs to be done under a time constraint, stress, or both. It should be avoided at all costs. It does baffle me to see so many smart and savvy political operators spending a significant amount of time and energy gossiping about Sidney, whether arguing with others about the likelihood she has the evidence she claims to have, or more recently wondering what is happening between Sidney and Rudy and Jenna. We are still in an all-hands-on-deck crisis here. If you think Sidney can't follow through, fine. Analyzing and overanalyzing all your deliberations about Sidney's likelihood of success is not productive. Focus your energy then on track one, the Pacific Theater. Lots of people have said this, but I will repeat it for emphasis. Technically, we can win the White House on track one alone. So if you don't believe Sidney, or if you do, but other than donating to her legal efforts at her site, restoringtherepublic.org, restoringtherepublic.org, or excuse me, defendingtherepublic.org. Defendingtherepublic.org is the site for the Legal Defense Fund for Sidney and her team going after the electronic. Defendingtherepublic.org. There isn't much you can do to help her if other than working on track one, if you don't want to go and battle it out in the European theater, if you will. Track one needs a whole lot of help. That's on the Pacific Theater. We need to be explaining the fraud to the general public so the American people can understand the truth. We need to be calling and lobbying state legislatures in the battleground states. We need to be putting pressure on Governor Kemp to follow through with his promise to undertake a rigorous audit in Georgia, and the list goes on. The election is still within our grasp if we keep pushing. If you have time to spend wondering about Rudy and Jenna and Sidney, that tells me you're not as engaged as you should be on the task at hand. There will be plenty of time to assess everyone and everything later. Finally, don't get caught up in the silly headlines that suggest that any kind of tension in the Trump team or amongst Trump allies is unusual and proof our efforts are spiraling. That's ridiculous. If you buy into that, you need to take a breath and reflect on your own life and relationships and then reread some history. Occasionally, tension among people is natural, from your own home to allied political figures throughout history. The people in the spotlight today are fighting a titanic battle to change the course of the election of the most powerful nation on earth. As with all choices in life, every strategic move they make is a choice to take one path and not another, and that choosing is often fraught with tension and with stress. Understand, they all love America. They are all doing their best to save the republic, and they are all doing just fine. I can say with certainty that I don't know anyone more passionately committed to the pursuit of truth and justice, no matter the slings and arrows thrown her way, than Sidney Powell. Every struggle of this kind has bumps, even if history books gloss them over. The biggest problem here is how you, the public, will respond. It is critical that we all avoid the distraction of drama, stay calm and reasoned, and focus on whatever it is we can do to advance the mission. Yeah. Molly channeled my dad, Ben Janda, right there. In times of stress, panic is easy, but a measured, rational approach is what is needed and what is difficult. I go back to Molly. This election is truly in our hands. We have the power to win if we want to. It is a matter of resolve, discipline, and drive. Brilliant by Molly McCann. DefendingTheRepublic.org is the legal defense fund that Sidney Powell set up several weeks ago. Not Sunday night. Several weeks ago. I've donated to it. I've donated a chunk of cash to it because I believe it is a defense fund that is focused on every American, not just a select group of Americans, every American and every future American, and it really holds the future for our country, for we the people. When I was in high school, freshman, my mom, the history teacher, said, Dave, your reading assignment I'm giving you, she gave me reading assignments all the time. The reading assignment I'm giving you is I want you to read something called The Art of War by Sun Tzu. What? Who's he? Mom. The probably greatest warrior of possibly the world's ever seen. Alexander the Great's up there, but Sun Tzu? You need to read this book. You need to read it. All of it. I'm like, I don't want to do this. I still remember, my dad said, Dave, after your mother and I got married, she made me read it. So if I had to read it, you're going to read it. Okay. There is so much valuable information about life and dealing with struggles and war and battles. But there's a part of the art of war that I want to leave with you. From the greatest warrior in possibly our planet's history. Quote, listen, appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak. You see, right now, there are a lot of people that are saying, "Oh, wow, we're in a weak situation here. We are in a no-win situation. Those are people who are either working for the deep state and trying to run a psyops on you, and above all, they have no clue about the art of war. I don't know of a more fierce warrior than Sidney Powell. Take that to the bank. This is war. We all need to do our part. Let's get it done. Because I believe when it's all said and done, we not only got this, but the deep state is the Titanic. It hit the iceberg, and it's sinking. They just don't want you to know it. It's time for every one of us to join on. One way. Pretty simple. Take the information that's provided on this platform and other independent channels and network it to anyone and everyone you know. Turn off cable, other than Newsmax or One American News, who appear not to have fallen into the prey of the deep state. But surely don't watch the networks, and that includes Fox, please. They're all part of the deep state. They're there to propagandize you, to suppress you, to demoralize you, to misinform you. The independent media is where it's at. That's your lifeboat. Take the information and provide it to anyone and everyone you know. We try to do this with this YouTube channel, with our radio show Operation Freedom, and with our website, davejana.com. At the top of our homepage, we have a red box and a yellow box with some of the most featured interviews on this topic with election integrity issues and the stealing of the vote. Go there. Tell your friends and families and neighbors to there are 3 particular segments in the red box and 2 in the yellow box. They're all free. Watch them. All of them. Won't take you that long. And then network them to anyone and everyone you know. Times are tough financially, but if you so choose, defendingtherepublic.org is the legal defense fund that Sidney Powell has set up. It's a 2-front war. We got Giuliani and his team working one front. We have Sidney Powell and her team working one front, another front. On the electronic side versus the paper side. Both need to be worked if we're going to win this war. It's that simple. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thank you for your time today.